When my aunt passed away, the last thing I expected was to inherit the old family land. It wasn't just a piece of earth to me, it was where my childhood summers lived, where my parents had planted those massive oaks, where my grandmother's laughter still seemed to echo on the breeze. I remember standing there as a kid, barefoot on the grass, imagining all the things I'd do if that land was mine one day. Now, here I was, with the deed in my hand, and a knot in my stomach I couldn't shake. I drove out to the property the day I got the letter. The gate, rusty and creaky, swung open with a groan that felt like a warning. My heart pounded as I stepped inside, breath catching at the familiar scent of pine and earth. But then I saw it, the brand new survey stakes, bright orange flags planted deep in the ground, heavy machinery parked near the old creek. What the hell? I muttered, squinting against the sun. I spotted a group of men in hard hats, builders, I assumed. Chatting and pointing at maps spread over a truck hood. My voice cracked when I called out, "Hey! What's going on here? This land's not for development." One of them glanced up, eyes cold and sharp. "Lady, you don't want to be sticking your nose where it doesn't belong," the tallest one said with a smirk. "This area's been zoned for new construction. You must have missed the notices." His words stung like a slap. "No, I didn't miss anything. This land belongs to my family." "I have the deed," I said, clutching the paperwork tightly. "You don't have permission to be here." The smile disappeared from his face, replaced by a warning glare. Before I could respond, a car pulled up, a sleek black SUV that looked out of place in the dirt lot. Out stepped a woman wearing a perfectly pressed blazer, clipboard in hand. She introduced herself as the HOA president, her smile tight and rehearsed. "I'm sorry, but your property rights don't trump community regulations. You'll need to comply with our guidelines, or face consequences." I took a shaky breath. "I'm just trying to protect what's mine. This land has been in my family for generations." "What guidelines? What consequences?" Her eyes narrowed. "Keep your property in line with HOA rules. Remove unauthorized structures. Stop interfering with development plans. Or legal action will follow." I swallowed hard, a chill crawling up my spine. "I won't let you take this away. Not without a fight." She smiled again, this time, it didn't reach her eyes. "We'll see about that." Walking back to my car, I felt a mix of fear and fierce determination twist inside me. How could this be happening? My family's legacy was under threat, and I had no idea what I was up against. But I knew one thing for sure, I wasn't going to give up without a fight. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. So, the next morning, I went straight to the county recorder's office. The clerk eyed me like I was a troublemaker as I asked for the deed and any recent filings on my property. "You're the new owner?" she asked, flipping through dusty files. I nodded, holding my breath. "Here," she said, sliding a stack of papers across the counter. "This should be everything." But as I scanned the documents, my stomach dropped. The latest survey maps didn't match what I remembered. Boundaries shifted slightly, corners realigned. And there were signatures, supposedly mine and my aunt's, but they looked off. Shaky, uneven. Like someone had rushed them. I muttered, "This doesn't add up. How could they alter official records without anyone noticing?" Later, I walked over to Mrs. Jenkins' house, the oldest resident on the block. She'd known my family forever. "Have you heard anything about the land?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mrs. Jenkins sighed, her wrinkled hands clutching her cane. "Honey, these developers don't play fair. A few years back, they pushed through deals that hurt a lot of folks here. I'm afraid they've got their fingers in everything, officials, inspectors, even the HOA." My heart raced. "Do you think they'd forge documents? Change boundaries?" She nodded slowly. I'm sorry to say, yes. I've seen strange papers, letters sent to neighbors that didn't make sense. Folks who tried to fight got threatened or ignored. I swallowed hard. That explains why I keep getting those vague notices and warnings. I thought it was just red tape. Red tape's just a fancy word for their tricks, she said, eyes sharp despite her age. You're brave to stand up. Most just give up. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table, the papers spread out like a puzzle I had to solve. Fear bubbled up. What if I was powerless against these people? But beneath the fear, something fiercer stirred. This was my family's land. My aunt's legacy. I wouldn't let it slip away. I whispered to myself, I'll find the truth. No matter what. The silence in the room felt heavy, but I was determined. Every forged signature, every altered line in those documents was a challenge, and I was ready to face it head-on. I didn't know the full extent of what I was up against yet, but one thing was clear, this fight wasn't just about land anymore. It was about justice. The first letter arrived 2 days after I left Mrs. Jenkins' house. I remember holding the crisp envelope, my hands trembling. It was from a law firm, cold and formal, demanding I cease unauthorized interference with the development plans. The tone was anything but polite. Failure to comply will result in legal action, it warned. My stomach tightened. That same week, I heard from neighbors that strange trucks had been circling the block late at night. One of my closest neighbors, Mrs. Torres, called me, voice shaky. Someone's been trespassing on your land, knocking over the fence posts, she said. I caught a couple of men snooping around yesterday. I felt a mix of anger and helplessness. Did you see their faces? I asked. Too dark to tell, she admitted. But they left muddy footprints all over the garden. When I arrived the next morning, the garden was a mess, trampled plants, broken stakes. My heart sank. Why are they doing this? I whispered, fists clenched. Later that afternoon, I ran into Brenda Miller, the HOA president. Her perfect smile was there, but her eyes held a sharp edge. Still clinging to a lost cause, aren't you? She said smoothly. The board has already approved the plans. You're wasting your time. I met her gaze steadily. This land belongs to my family. You can't just push us out. She laughed, cold and low. We'll see about that. Power and progress don't wait for sentimentality. I felt a chill, but I forced myself to stand tall. I won't back down. Walking away, I replayed her words in my head. The weight of the fight settled heavily on my shoulders. That night, sleep refused to come. I lay awake, mind swirling with doubts. What if I'm alone in this? I thought. What if they're too powerful? But then I remembered my aunt, her strength, her pride in this land. I pictured her smiling at me, urging me forward. No, I whispered to the dark ceiling. I won't let fear win. This land is more than dirt and trees. It's my family's soul. With that, determination ignited inside me like a flame refusing to die out. I knew the road ahead was treacherous, but I had to fight, for the land, for my family, for justice. I knew I couldn't fight this battle blindfolded, so I dug into the land's history. At the town library, I sifted through yellowed newspapers and dusty court records. The more I read, the more I realized this fight was far bigger than I imagined. Why hasn't anyone told me about this? I muttered, heart pounding. Decades ago, there had been a dispute over this land. One that mysteriously vanished from public memory. Pages revealed lawsuits, zoning changes pushed through under suspicious circumstances, and property deeds that didn't quite match the reality. Someone had quietly buried the truth. Late one afternoon, I found a folded letter tucked inside an old file. It was from a disgruntled former surveyor confessing to being pressured to alter boundary lines and forge signatures. My hands shook as I read it aloud. They told me if I didn't comply, I'd never work in this county again. This is it, I whispered, hope flickering. Determined to take this further, I called the only lawyer I knew, Maria Delgado, a fierce advocate for property rights and justice. When we met, she didn't waste time. "You're not alone in this," Maria said firmly, sliding a folder across the table. "I've seen this pattern before, developers bending laws, using their connections to silence opposition. But fraud leaves traces. We'll find them." Her confidence steadied my nerves. "I want to fight," I said, voice steady despite the storm inside me. "Not just for me, but for everyone they've hurt." Maria nodded. "We'll build a case that exposes them. But be ready, it won't be easy." As I left her office, the weight of the journey pressed down, but beneath it, a new strength grew. The path ahead was daunting, but for the first time, I felt equipped to walk it. "This land is worth fighting for," I told myself. And so am I. I thought the neighbors would stand with me. After all, this wasn't just about my land, it was about all of us. So, I knocked on doors, handed out flyers, and invited folks to a small meeting at the community hall. But most turned me away with tight smiles or quick excuses. "Better not get involved," Mrs. Allen warned quietly. "Brenda's got eyes everywhere." I could feel the fear thick in the air, like a heavy fog smothering any hope. It left me restless and hollow. Why are they so scared? I whispered to myself, pacing my kitchen late at night. Who has that much power? Only a few brave souls responded. Mr. Patel, who lives down the street, nodded firmly when I told him what was happening. "We can't let them bulldoze us out," he said. "I'll come to your meeting." And Mrs. Rodriguez, a soft-spoken woman with tired eyes, agreed to spread the word. Their support was a flicker in the darkness. The night of the gathering, I set up chairs and printed copies of the documents Maria had helped me compile. Only 10 neighbors showed up, small, but enough to start. I cleared my throat and began. "This land means more than just property lines," I said, voice shaking but growing stronger. "It's our history, our home. And someone is trying to steal it using lies and threats." I laid out the forged deeds, the altered surveys, the letters exposing the corruption. Faces shifted from skepticism to shock. I saw the same fire ignite in their eyes that I felt inside. "Why didn't anyone tell us before?" one man asked. "They wanted us silent," I replied. "But silence won't protect us now." Mrs. Allen was there after all, sitting quietly near the back. When I finished, she stood and said, "I was afraid. But no more. We have to stand together." That moment changed everything. We began to plan, to organize, to speak louder. The weight of isolation started to lift, replaced by a shared strength. Driving home that night, I felt a mix of exhaustion and hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could turn fear into power. Together. I knew talk wasn't enough. We needed solid proof. So, I started recording meetings with the HOA, carefully noting every suspicious word and dodged question. At first, I felt like a spy sneaking in, heart pounding every time Brenda or her crew glanced my way. "Why are you here again?" Brenda snapped during one meeting, her eyes sharp. "This isn't your fight." "I'm fighting for what's right," I shot back, voice steady despite the knots inside. Neighbors shared their stories, whispering about threats, mysterious fines, and sudden inspections. I wrote everything down, piecing together a puzzle hidden beneath layers of lies. One evening, I received a harsh letter warning me to stop harassment or face consequences. My lawyer warned, "They're trying to scare you off, but don't let that shake you." That night, alone in my living room, I almost gave in to fear. "Is this too much?" I whispered. But then, my phone buzzed, a message from an anonymous source. "Check the old safe deposit box. Proof inside. My hands trembled as I opened the dusty box at the bank. Inside was an original deed, signed by my aunt, notarized correctly, and a bundle of letters exposing forged documents and manipulated zoning approvals. Tears blurred my vision. This is it, I breathed. The truth. Maria, my lawyer, reviewed everything with fierce determination. This evidence will change everything. We're ready to fight. The risk felt enormous. I knew that by exposing this, I was putting myself and my neighbors in the spotlight. But hope surged through me stronger than fear. For the first time, I believed justice was within reach. I won't let them win, I told Maria. Not now, not ever. When Maria filed the lawsuit, I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief because finally, we were fighting on official ground. Dread because I knew this was only the beginning of a brutal war. The day we entered the courtroom, my hands shook as I gripped the folder with all our evidence. The air was thick with tension. Opposite me sat Brenda and her team, smug smiles, expensive suits, the kind of people used to winning before the trial even began. Are you sure you want to do this? Maria asked softly, sensing my nerves. They'll try everything to break you down. I have to, I said, voice firm but heart pounding. For my aunt. For my family. As the hearing began, the opposition wasted no time. Their lawyer sneered, "This is a baseless claim by an emotional heir grasping at straws." They attacked my credibility, questioned the authenticity of documents, and tried to paint me as naive. I felt the weight of their words crush me. Doubt whispered, what if they're right? What if I lose everything? But Maria stood by me, whispering encouragement. Stay strong. We have the truth. When my turn came, I spoke slowly, holding the court's attention. This land carries my family's history. The forged deeds, the manipulated surveys, they're not just papers. They're lies built to steal what's rightfully ours. The judge's eyes flicked between us. I could feel the whole courtroom watching my every word. That night, as I lay awake, fear gnawed at me. What if all this fighting wasn't enough? What if the legacy I cherished slipped through my fingers? But then, I remembered my aunt's words from years ago. How she believed in standing firm, no matter the storm. I won't let you down, I whispered to the darkness. I'll fight until the end. This wasn't just about land anymore. It was about honor, justice, and reclaiming a piece of my soul. The day of the public hearing felt like walking into a storm. The community center was packed, more faces than I'd ever seen gathered in one place, some curious, others angry, many hopeful. I clutched my notes tightly, trying to steady my racing heart. When it was my turn, I stepped up to the microphone and looked out at the crowd. This land is more than just property, I said, voice clear but trembling. It's our history, our home, and someone tried to steal it with lies and deceit. I laid out the evidence, original deeds, the forged documents, letters exposing the corruption. Cameras flashed. People murmured, eyes widening as the truth sank in. Brenda sat across the room, her usual smug expression faltering. When it was her turn, she tried to deflect blame. These accusations are baseless, she said, voice tight. The development benefits the community. This is just fear-mongering. But her words sounded hollow. Questions fired at her from the crowd, neighbors demanding answers. She stumbled under the spotlight, unable to silence the rising outrage. Suddenly, Mrs. Allen stood and shouted, "We've been afraid for too long. This is our home, and we won't let you destroy it." Cheers erupted. One by one, neighbors voiced their support, sharing stories of harassment and intimidation. The atmosphere shifted, no longer silent, but united. After the meeting, people came up to thank me. "You gave us hope," Mr. Patel said, shaking my hand. That night, I sat alone, the weight of the day settling over me. Vindication warmed my heart, but I knew the fight wasn't over. "I'm not done," I whispered. "This is just the beginning." The community's strength gave me courage. Together, we were a force that could no longer be ignored. The day the court ruled in my favor, I felt like I was holding my breath for hours. When the judge finally spoke, his voice steady and firm, it was like a weight lifted off my chest. "The defendants are ordered to cease all development activities immediately," he declared. "Legal penalties will be enforced for any further violations." Relief crashed over me like a wave. I looked around the courtroom. Brenda's face was pale, her usual arrogance gone. I whispered to Maria, "It's really over." She nodded, smiling softly. Outside, the news spread fast. The developers had to stop. The land that had meant so much to my family was finally safe. I drove there that afternoon, heart swelling as I saw neighbors planting flowers along the fence, children playing where machines once rumbled. The garden was being restored, the scars slowly healing. Mrs. Allen hugged me tightly. "You gave us back our home," she said, tears shining in her eyes. The community began to change. Monthly gatherings replaced tense meetings. New faces appeared, eager to build a neighborhood that welcomed everyone. Wheelchair ramps, community gardens, and accessible parks became symbols of our unity and resilience. I still had moments of exhaustion, long nights questioning if it was worth it, doubts creeping in. But every time I saw the smiles around me, I knew it was. "This fight changed me," I admitted to Maria one evening. "I'm stronger now. More sure of who I am." She smiled. "That's the power of standing up for what's right." As I looked out at the land, sun setting over the trees my family once tended, gratitude filled me, for my aunt's legacy, for the neighbors who stood by me, for Maria's unwavering support. This wasn't just about property. It was about justice, healing, and hope. And we had won. Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come. From those first shaky steps. Fear twisting my gut, to standing tall in court and beyond, fighting for what was ours. This journey changed me in ways I never imagined. I'm not just the scared heir anymore. I'm someone who knows strength comes from standing firm, even when the odds feel impossible. Driving past the land now, I see more than trees and soil. I see a future blossoming, community gardens where neighbors gather, kids laughing in parks built for everyone, sidewalks widened so no one is left behind. The legacy isn't just in the land itself but in how we've transformed it into a symbol of hope and inclusion. Maria often says, "Your fight sparked more than a legal victory. It sparked change." And I feel that truth every time someone tells me how our story gave them courage to stand up too. Looking back, I'm grateful for every moment of doubt, every challenge. It shaped me. I've learned to trust my voice, to believe in justice, and to never underestimate the power of a united community. I tell myself and anyone who'll listen, injustice thrives in silence, but when we speak, when we fight together, we become unstoppable. This land was my family's gift to me. Now, it's our community's promise, a promise that no matter how dark the fight, persistence lights the way. And as I watch the sun set over those familiar oaks, I know this isn't the end. It's a beginning, a legacy of courage, hope, and the unyielding spirit to protect what matters most.